Sam, you finally had a couple of hours between college and girlfriend and internship to see Morbius, and you've had a couple of days now to process. Let me get your one word reaction.
I mean, this is going to come across a little bit more toxic than I'm meaning it to. So please don't take it that way. But I'm going to say it was fine. No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great either. It was just fine.
Okay. All right. What about you, BB Nate?
I just thought it was a lot of fun. It's just fun.
Fun. All right.
Fun, fine.
Fun, fine. I'm not going to use an F.
Oh.
My reaction is entertaining. We'll talk more about this, especially the 2 end credit scenes and how they fit into the MCU, along with some Moon Knight and Lego Star Wars conversation. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
I don't know when we're going to have time to watch Halo. We're like 2 episodes behind, and the third one's getting ready to come out. But between all of your schoolwork and Nathan and all the stuff he's got going on and me working like crazy, we just haven't had time to do it.
No, we've just been really trying to keep up with Moon Knight, and that's difficult as is.
Yeah, it's like late at the end of Wednesday by the time.
Right.
So, unfortunately, when you don't bring in a bunch of characters from the rest of the MCU, there's not a lot of spoilers. But anyway, welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer and the director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we're talking about how Morbius fits into the MCU, that shift in the second episode of Moon Knight, and giving our thoughts on Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga. I am David. I am the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
You're a little behind there,
I
Nate.
was.
A little bit, yeah.
Come on, wake up.
I'm honored to be joined every week by my 2 amazing sons, Samuel the Hutt. What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, we got Mr. Knight, just not exactly how we expected.
Yeah, that was different. What about you, BB Nate?
Morbius was a lot of fun, but it left us confused for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
You did?
Yeah, well, we're talking about Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga, which means I'll be asking a lot of questions and you guys will be talking.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. If this is your first time, welcome. We are glad that you are here. Please follow the show on whatever podcast app that you're listening to it on. It means the world to us. And that way you make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes. And thank you to our sponsors, The Heroes Journal, for underwriting the show and being a part of our Tatooine Sons family. We do appreciate that. Friday's episode was a lot of fun. AC Bradley, the head writer of Marvel's What If,
Wow.
was on.
That's crazy.
And I asked her the question that I know that you, Samuel the Hutt, have been wanting to get answered, and that lots of Iron Man fans.
What's up with that?
I asked her what the problem what is the deal that they have?
They got a thing against Tony?
Yeah, so she'll answer that on the show on Friday. So,
Disrespectful.
Yeah, but anyway, it's actually a really cool story.
That's good.
And it's got a fairly legitimate answer. But anyway, all right. I guess we'll stop talking about what we're going to talk about and talk about what we're talking about.
That works out.
Yes. Did I do it right?
I think
did.
so.
All right. Well, Morbius was a lot. Oh, that's you.
That's me.
Wow, you stepping on Nathan's segment.
I am. I'm just jumping right in. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
You are. Yes. Well, Morbius was a lot of fun, but it was the post-credit scenes that really got us talking because of how confusing they were. So we'll try to talk our way through it.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
No. I just, you guys had like been talking about this new Top Gun Maverick trailer that came out, and I hadn't seen it.
Well, we'd only seen the other one like 980 times.
Oh my word!
Because it's been playing for 2 years,
right? But yeah, no, the new trailer, it makes it look really good. I'm excited for that.
I'm super excited,
especially because it's one of the characters is Goose's son.
Yeah, that's huge.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm gonna first get y'all's rating on, I guess, 1 to 10 origami bats.
Origami bats.
Let's go.
You know, you got a thing for bats.
What's up with that?
Apparently, I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna let Sam go first.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm saying.
No, I'm gonna give it about like a 6.5.
Okay,
maybe a 7. Probably about a 6.5 because I think that's kind of what I rated it at the theater. So yeah, I give it a 6.5. I mean, it was fine.
Which is what you said at the beginning of
it. It was fun. It had its moments. I still think like Venom was a little bit better than this.
Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah, so I would rate both of them higher. I mean, not that there was inherently anything wrong with this movie. It's just, you know, when you compare it to some of the things we have gotten, it's hard to really compare it to the MCU. The MCU is doing something unprecedented. But even the other Sonyverse movies, like Venom, it falls a little short for me. Not that it's bad. I'm sure some people really still enjoy it. I know Nathan really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
But yeah, I think that's probably what I give it.
Okay. I think I gave it on our sort of a quick reaction we did on the last episode. 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
With that, which is right in line with what the Rotten Tomatoes score is on this. I don't think it's the best superhero movie that's ever been made by any means. I don't think it's the worst.
No, definitely not.
Journals. Excuse me. God bless me. Anyway,
I see I saw what you did there. That was good.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody did. All right. No, It was fine, and it's definitely not anywhere close to the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. What about you, BB Nate? What would you give it?
I'm going to give it a 7. I think that's a good place to put it. I didn't think it was anything fantastic, but I did think that it was a lot of fun. It was a fun watch, and just everything about it was just, it felt like a good old origin story for a character. Yeah. I think that's how it was supposed to be, and I really enjoyed it. So now let's talk about what we're here for.
What we don't like the reason that we stayed through.
Right. Yeah. Both times. The post-credit scenes. Now, what did y'all think of the post-credit scenes? Just a straight reaction of them.
I'll let Sam go first because we haven't talked about that much.
Right. No, I mean, honestly, they were pretty exciting. They are definitely confusing, which I know we're going to unpack here in a little bit. But it is exciting to see that they're interconnecting the universes even more on both sides of things too, which is not something we've gotten. Everything that's been interconnected has been on the MCU side. So seeing some interconnectivity on this side of things is pretty exciting. I liked them. I think they have a lot of promise for the future. So.
Yeah, I'm confused by them, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Adrian Toomes is in this universe now, and I don't understand about his Vulture gear, and I don't understand what he's going to do, but hopefully we can talk it through and you guys can help me, give me some counseling on this. But anytime you get to see Michael Keaton, whose character in Spider-Man Homecoming of Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, was fantastic. He did a great job. That moment when he opens the front door for prom or Homecoming, I guess it was Homecoming, wasn't it? Because prom would have been different. Yeah. It would have been Spider-Man Prom.
That
doesn't have the same ring.
No.
Spider-Man Homecoming makes more sense.
Yeah,
and then it actually opens up for them to do Far From Home and No Way Home.
That'd be clever.
It would have been Prom.
Far From Prom.
It doesn't make sense. All right. So anyway, when he opens the door and Peter is standing there and
we're all like, oh,
you're like, oh crap. That's what just, and then he starts figuring it out.
Yeah.
And Peter's that his character, Michael Keaton's a genius. I can't wait to see him in The Flash. But anyway, that's my reaction.
So let's answer.
What about yours? No. Oh, no, wait, you gave it. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they were good and confusing, but good.
Good and confusing.
Let's answer some of the questions. Now, the one that I think that everybody is really confused about is how is Adrian Toomes in this universe?
Yeah.
It's a little weird. Yeah, I did some research on this, and like I said this after we walked out of the movie, at least Dad and I walked out of the movie. I really do think that it's because Doctor Strange's spell, like how it was originally after he made it to forget Spider-Man existed.
Okay.
Some people slipped through into this universe.
Right.
So I think that since he was sending everybody back, some people slipped through into those universes, or at least the other universes.
Have you like researched this at all or studied it?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, some people, and a lot of other people think that this is what happened too. So I do think that Adrian's in this universe just from a part of the botched spell because Doctor Strange really didn't know what he was doing, because that was a very risky spell. And we learned that from Wong at the beginning anyways. So, that's what I think.
It's interesting too, because if you go back, and I know this isn't a Doctor Strange 2 conversation, but if Doctor Strange is the reason behind this taking place, if you go back and there's that moment where in the trailer of Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness where it's falling through like different dimensions or whatever, and there's this moment you even see animation on the screen and stuff like that. I mean, they're just bringing it all in. Maybe that's into the Spider-Verse level type stuff or what if, who knows, but you know, they could be bringing everything in together, and it may be why we haven't had any more Into the Spider-Verse than that one trailer.
Maybe
that's a good point.
That's very true.
So
yes, and okay, this one was also confusing. Why is Adrian trying to recruit Morbius?
Well, I think at this point, I think Toomes is good-ish at this point, as good as he's gonna be.
Well, it kind of ends Homecoming with that. There's that moment. Who's the bad guy in the prison with him?
Scorpion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like, Scorpion's wanting to like recruit him or work with, or get information from him about who Peter Parker is.
Or about who Spider-Man is. Yeah. And he won't give
Spider-Man, yes. And he won't give it up. So I think that there's that moment where he's kind of like, he stepped over a line and he realizes it. And so he's trying to step back now. So that could be, it could be true. He is like somewhat good.
Right. And I think at this point he realizes this universe doesn't have Earth's Mightiest Heroes or whatever, you know, it's not as protected, and he knows what is out there. He was there during the Battle of New York. He was there and part of the cleanup crew afterwards. So I think he's trying to take matters into his own hands and create his own pseudo Avengers in a way to keep this universe safe. He figures, you know, if nobody else is going to step up, I should. And probably also he needs to get together a group of smart individuals, because he probably doesn't want to be stuck here forever. Liz is not in this universe, or maybe not his Liz. So he's got to try and find a way to get back. And, you know, obviously Morbius is brilliant too. So that could be part of it.
I think it would be really interesting to see, you know, if this is a team up type thing that they're trying to set up. So you've got Vulture, you've got Morbius, you could bring in Venom with this, but what if there is a Liz in this universe? And there's been rumors that Liz could be Black Cat. Now, I don't know anything about Black Cat, but is Black Cat sort of an anti-hero, or is
she's the Catwoman for Spider-Man?
So like, very similar.
Pretty much identical to Catwoman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be interesting to see Liz in this universe as well, but as playing Black Cat, maybe he runs into her and they find each other and that kind of thing.
And that would make more sense as opposed to Liz becoming Black Cat in the other universe. You know, in this one, it could be maybe Adrian Toomes left at a real young age or abandoned.
She's going to have a more tragic
right, and so she's just been Black Cat for years now.
And we do have the Craven movie coming out,
and that's coming in the Sonyverse.
In the Sonyverse, so we're going to have that as well. We're probably going to get more answers.
So, do you think
and isn't there a Madam Web?
There's a Madam Web, but that's MCU.
Oh, is that MCU?
That's
okay,
MCU.
No, I'm sorry. I'm all confused.
I'm pretty sure that's MCU.
Well,
but
I mean,
this ties into MCU too. So.
What if they just use the Sonyverse as a way to like introduce these characters, these villains in a way, or pseudo villains, so they can bring them over to the MCU somehow or something?
They could
work.
It could.
It'd be a lot of fun.
It would be.
And then they need to just make the new Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie.
The third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Now, okay, how does Adrian Toomes have his suit? this is a good question, but if you watch it more and closely, it is a much, I guess, cruder design of his suit. It doesn't use any Chitauri weapons. It can obviously be seen as a fuel burn and not just a weird
repulsor technology.
There's the wings are very different. They're sharper, I guess. They're not as clean either. They're very crude. And yeah, I think that that's how it happened. I don't think that there's any other explanation, but it's weird. I'm not sure how he built it by himself though, because he had to have had somebody else to help with it. So yeah.
Yeah. So, sure. I mean, he had to have had a crew or something like that with it. So, who knows? I don't know if he's pulled together people from, his crew that he had in the other universe. And maybe that's how he did this, or maybe he was a bad guy in this universe or something before. But then that doesn't make sense because Adrian Toomes, they don't know who he is.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly why he's released.
Mm-hmm.
And so he hasn't got like a criminal history at all. I don't know. I'm probably more confused now than I was when I started.
Exactly.
With it, so.
I get it. But let's talk about how this connects to the MCU. Now, this is the one that I don't think we really know anything about. We're not sure how this will play into the MCU quite yet. The only thing that connects it is the same crack in the sky from the end of No Way Home from Doctor Strange. But other than that, we have no idea how this will affect anything. So how do y'all think that this will affect the MCU?
I don't know if it necessarily will, except for my idea of them bringing in, using this universe to introduce characters and then bringing them over. But I think really a creator had an idea where they want these characters, these anti-heroes or villains from Spider-Man, in this universe, creating like a team. And the only way to get Vulture in, or the only way that really made sense, would be to bring Toomes over. And so I think that's what they used this for, was to bring it over. I think it's less for the MCU and more for this universe.
I wonder if they're trying to continue that idea of a Sinister Six, because it felt like at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, that was where they were going.
It was.
With it. And now you've got, what's Jamie Foxx's character? Electro. You've got him back over, and maybe he's feeling more redeemed and kind of not this evil anti-hero or evil villain that he has at the end of, maybe he's considered more of a good guy in this moment. I don't know if he even came over and survived it because he was dead in this universe. We don't know that. But if they're bringing that Sinister Six together, then that sets up something for Andrew Garfield. Even though they may not be bad guys, it could set up something really interesting for that. Maybe they are going to do something with bringing over a Venom or whatever. It'd be cool to see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man teaming up with Vulture and Venom and those types of things for some kind of like a battle against another symbiote or whatever.
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty cool. That would. So Spider-Man, I guess, is a thing in this universe now because Adrian mentions it so casually, and we understand that he was from a different universe, and Morbius didn't question who Spider-Man was.
Was there any reaction from Morbius at all to that, though?
They didn't give us a chance to.
It was like a poker face moment.
Yeah, and I get that, but the thing is the director of this was asked if there was a Spider-Man in this universe, and he said, of course there is. He said there is a Spider-Man, and he says that we will know who that is sometime soon. But we're not quite sure. I hope it's Andrew Garfield, but what is going on there? Nobody acts like Spider-Man's a thing in this universe, yet apparently he is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a plot hole, honestly. At this point, it's wide open, and it creates a lot of confusion at this point. Because if you and then of course you've got like stuff from the trailer of Morbius where you have him plastered, the Spider-Man plastered on a wall. That was Tobey Maguire's version, right? Mm-hmm. And now he's not even. That scene didn't even happen.
Yeah, the director said he's not even sure how that made it in the trailer, like himself.
He didn't even mean to.
Yeah, he didn't even.
Wasn't even cleared that.
Yeah. So we're not even sure why that
wasn't there another scene with Adrian that was in the trailer where he's actually talking to Michael Morbius?
Yes. That wasn't in the movie.
That wasn't in the movie either.
So I think that honestly, I wonder if they just don't know what they're trying to do when it comes to the Sonyverse. Maybe they had to change, because this was delayed.
Yes.
So No Way Home comes out in December. And then this was scheduled to come out in January. It didn't come out. Then they delayed it until when it came out at the beginning of April. So all that delay may have been where they were working out what this new thing between Sony and Marvel is going to look like. And they took stuff out in that. And I don't know. I don't know, but it's definitely different. So
it is. So where do y'all think they go from here with this in this universe?
Well, I think that, like what I said earlier, I think you make a like pseudo Avengers in a way. You get Venom and Morbius and Vulture and maybe Kraven and stuff, and they're kind of like this crew that tries to protect the innocent, but probably.
Can we get Paul Giamatti's Rhino?
Sure.
No.
Yeah, we'll throw him in there. And I think they try to do good, but they also, want a little cut too, because they're not all they're not altruistic and they don't have Tony footing the bill. So I think that they go with that, and maybe they eventually bring it over into the MCU, or they connect it with another Spider-Man storyline.
And that storyline could really revolve around a Madam Web type.
It could.
Yeah, because that'll interconnect everything pretty well.
Yeah, I would love to see sort of this new Sonyverse be something that grows and builds. I just hope that as they do this, the stories they tell tend to be, they tend to start spending more time with people over at Marvel and understanding the way that they tell their stories. And there's this agreement that they're allowed to tell stories in the same way, because then that makes these movies better instead of them just trying to come out. It feels like they're trying to they've got their way of doing it and they're not going to change it. And I think that people have, if this was 1998 or 2003 or 2006, people would have felt differently about this movie. But once the MCU became the MCU, the bar's raised.
It did.
And it's going to change things now. So,
yep.
So, are you done?
It's you.
Are you done?
It's a dad moment. Yes.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for a dad moment.
I am your father.
We really didn't talk about it in the segment that much, but there is a really interesting contrast in Morbius between Michael Morbius and Lucius Crown, better known as Milo. In this,
Lucian.
That's the way it was pronounced.
It's spelt so strange.
Anyway, both have the same rare and fatal blood disease. Both are mentored by the same doctor. Both even take the same serum that results in the exact same superpowers. But Michael chooses good, while Milo chooses evil. The thing about this film is that there's really no explanation or reason why. In this, it seems random, like it's just nature, apparently. And in many ways, this is the weakest part of the film for me, because it leaves the viewer a bit dissatisfied. I believe that's because we know in our hearts that something more must be going on with that. So that's my dad moment.
It's a good one.
Good moment. I like it.
All right.
And those scenes definitely left us and me with more questions than answers, but I'm excited to see where they go with it in the next movie.
I am too.
TV series, who knows?
Good job on that segment.
Good job, Nate.
Thank you.
Especially with the technical difficulties that we were having. And we're still going to continue to have.
Yay.
Well, anyway, let's talk a little bit about some bad news. Yeah. Apparently there is a Black Widow series that it can be scrapped.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The Thor Love and Thunder trailer has broken a record.
Okay.
And Will Smith's Deadshot film has been shelved, but there's no news in that. And that's all up next on Bad News.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, I want to get some feedback from you guys on the Heroes Journal stuff. So I want to hear from you guys. What are you doing in the journal right now, and how is that helping you? So, BB Nate, you don't have a quest?
I do not, no, sir.
All right, but how are you using the journal still?
I'm just kind of having it to set out my day and kind of just write down thoughts, I guess is a good way of putting it, if I ever need to. So it's kind of just, it's there. If I need it is what I'm treating it as.
Are you planning out your schedule in there, or like mapping out the things you got to get done and creating a checklist, or how are you using it? Other, like personal thoughts, or just like things you need to think about for the day, or what?
I need to think about personal thoughts. I don't really schedule out my day because my day normally just doesn't go by a schedule, even if I try to schedule it out, because it's just so much happens in a day. So I just go with the flow most of the time. But yeah, I kind of use it if it's there and I need it. So
all right, Samuel Head, I want to hear from you. How's your quest? Using it to make yourself to create more discipline for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I've been kind of getting a little bit behind the past week or so just because of how absolutely crazy my schedule has been. But I just recently started getting back into it, and I've started recently using, there's those lines on the left page that they recommend using for a schedule to schedule out your day, but that doesn't really work for me because, like Nathan said, it's just usually so fluid. I can't really schedule it down. So I started using it as a little spot to put my prayers for the day. Sometimes, I'll put a few at the start of my day and a few at the end of my day too. And that kind of helps make prayer a more consistent part of my day as well. So I'm trying to use it for that now.
Well, one thing that you can learn from the conversation that BB Nate and Samuel just had about the Heroes Journal is it's not a rigid tool. You can customize it and use it however it works best for you. And so that's pretty amazing to see how they're using the tool that way. If you want to join our little fellowship and learn more about how you can use this productivity tool and this day planner or this journal for you to write your thoughts down in, or a place to write your prayers, whatever you want to do, you can join our fellowship by going to theheroesjournal.co/pages/Tatooine Sons and join our quest. And it's there that if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can download your free copy of the first act of this and join our fellowship, and then just kind of be a part of what's going on. Make sure you check out the Facebook group as well. You can join their Facebook group and read other people that are on their different journeys and how you can use this journal for yourself. We can't wait for you to join our little fellowship.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right. Goodbye, Natasha Romanoff. Marvel officially scraps Black Widow.
Whoa.
It's pretty intense. Did either of you even know that there was a Black Widow series that could be scrapped?
No, I really didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. But based on this headline from Inside the Magic, it would be easy to conclude that a Black Widow series was in development for Disney Plus. When you combine this headline with the featured image of Scarlett Johansson wearing her costume from 2021's feature film, you'd be safe to assume that this article goes on to discuss said series. But that's the trick here. See, we've seen this before. It's just an article about a Marvel Comics series that is ending its run. In fact, the series was a run set to expand upon the story surrounding the film that was released last summer. Therefore, its run is ending as it was originally planned. Clickbait level 7.
Yeah. Well, Thor: Love and Thunder sets an MCU record. That's infuriating.
I'm an MCU fan. I'm infuriated. I don't know why, but I'm infuriated. I'm just as infuriated.
I'm supposed to be angry?
You're angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
All right.
You probably never heard of this record that is supposedly infuriating fans.
I'm infuriated.
But that's because nobody really talked about this record before last week. Are you okay there?
I'm so angry.
Sun's getting real low, buddy.
Okay.
But that's because nobody talked about this record before last week when it became a trendy way to write a clickbait headline. And of course, we got this covered, never misses a chance at a clickbait headline. In reality, this record isn't really a record at all. It's just the reality that for whatever reason, the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer hasn't been released yet. And with a release date of July 8th, this makes it the closest an MCU film has ever been to release without, getting a trailer. And while fans are talking about it and eagerly awaiting said trailer, there's not a lot of anger around it. So this one gets a clickbait level 9.
9. Okay. All right. BB Nate, you got a tough one to pass and beat up there.
I do. Yes. Deadshot standalone film starring Will Smith was previously in the works. EpicStream.com is writing yet another intentionally ambiguous headline in an attempt to cash in on the Will Smith controversy. This headline suggests that Will Smith was on track to reprise his role from the original Suicide Squad film, but it would appear that this has been shelved due to Smith's outburst at the 2022 Oscars. However, this article goes on to say that the film was set aside long before this year's Academy Awards and has nothing to do with Will Smith's behavior.
Good.
There's nothing to see here.
That's just like a slap to the
Clickbait
face.
level.
It's
9.
jeez.
Good one, Sam.
Too soon. All right. Is it my turn?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to talk a little Star Wars.
Yeah.
If it feels like Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga was supposed to be released years ago, it's because it was. And after nearly 2 years, or almost, is it more than 2 years?
I think it was more.
Yeah, it's like 2.5.
A long time. It was delayed.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. The highly anticipated game hits console. It hit consoles last week.
Last week, yes, sir.
It was last week, and the Sons, you two, have started playing it. We'll find out what they think next.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Not far.
Like barely anywhere into it. I mean, we've gotten to we finished the pod race in episode 1.
Mm-hmm. So are you starting? And you started from episode 1? Because you can start from anywhere in the game, right?
You can start from any of the beginning, like any of the first movies of the 3 trilogies. So either episode 1, 4,
okay,
or
so you can start at the start of whichever trilogy.
Correct.
Yeah, you're in. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, let's get your initial reactions to the game. Kind of 2-3 sentences. Samuel the Hutt, you go first.
It has changed a lot since the last Lego Star Wars game that I've played. I know that there was like The Force Awakens or something like that Lego game, but the last one I played was Complete Saga, and it's changed a lot and for the better, in my opinion.
All right, BB Nate, that's going to be interesting to hear your follow-up. Because did you play the other games that much?
I didn't play them a ton. I wasn't super into them, but I do enjoy this one a lot. I think that it has a lot to explore, and I don't think you'll ever run out of content to find. It's a lot in it, and it's just a lot of fun. The voice acting is great as well. They got a lot of the voice actors back from the Clone Wars to voice at least some of the prequel.
Oh, that's cool.
Characters, and so you got James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan, so that's fantastic as always. And so it's just a lot of fun. It is really good.
It's decent.
I did all right. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the kind of memories before we get into this game too much. What are your memories of playing Lego Star Wars as a kid? I'll start with you, BB Nate, since you didn't play it as often.
I didn't know, and I don't remember much of me playing it as a kid, but I do remember a lot of watching Sammy play it as a kid. That's normally what happened. I would just sit there and watch him play because I just wasn't super into playing, and so that was really it. Yeah, those are my memories.
Were there like moments in the game that you really remembered? Or
not really.
Out
it was a long time ago. Yeah. Like, I really don't. I was maybe 4 at that time.
I mean, I think we would play around in the cantina together and make the custom characters, but that's about it. You didn't play it very much.
All right, Sam, then what are some of your memories of playing Lego Star Wars as a kid?
I put so many hours into this game as a little kid. I mean, I played through every level multiple times. I think my favorites were either episode 2 or episode 5, I think were my favorite levels, just from what I remember. But there was this whole big, like, free play mode that I played around in and stuff. I mean, just hours and hours, had every sort of character.
What was it about free play mode?
Well, I mean, so I meant there was like an open world thing, but then the free play mode I played a lot too. And what's cool about that is you go back through and you play the same levels, but you're not restricted to the characters that they give you to play. You can you can play with any of the characters that you have previously unlocked, which allows you to do some of the puzzles and stuff that you wouldn't be able to do before because certain characters have certain abilities. So I went through.
So what's the difference between free play and open world?
Well, the open world in the Complete Saga, it wasn't really open world. It was just this really big level that was kind of like a neighborhood or a city or whatever, and you just kind of played around with it and got studs and did little like puzzles and stuff.
What was your favorite part of the Complete Saga when you played it before?
I mean, I just think,
and I guess the Complete Saga only had 6 movies.
It had 1 through 6
because that was before the sequels. It's like hard for me to process this now.
I don't know. I think the humor is a lot of fun. Lego knows how to play its humor well. And it's a lot of, they didn't have words in this game, back then. So it was all very slapsticky, but also just a lot of physical comedy that they were able to get across, which was fun. But every level had so much to do. And what's cool is you play through a level the first time, you see something and you're like, oh, I can't do that, but I know I can come back and do that. And it gets you to replay the whole level again and still have a different experience. So there's the level of replayability and secrets and unlocks to it is immense, even in just the complete saga.
That's awesome. All right. So you guys have played it a little bit. And I know that there's a whole lot more to the game for you to explore, and maybe we can come back and talk about it on a different episode later as well. But what are some of the differences that you've noticed so far? I guess we'll compare the Skywalker saga to the complete saga. I'll start with you, Sam.
Oh man, there's quite a few. First off, graphics are immensely better. And I think that's just because the complete saga is like 17 years old, something like that. It's a really, really old,
hard to believe,
old game. So obviously graphics are going to improve greatly. But I mean, there's voice acting in this game, which I know has been in the last few Lego games, but I wasn't used to it. And it's actually growing on me. I like it. I wasn't sure I would like it at first. But even just the actual...
So at first you kind of resisted it when you first started watching it?
I wasn't a fan of it at first, but the gameplay itself is significantly different. I mean, it's still got your classic Lego puzzles and things like that. But I think it relies a lot more on like combat, and they've really improved the combat mechanics. You've got combos now, and you can throw things with the Force, and you can like aim down your gun and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy different. But overall, it's just a lot more polished. Okay. There's skill trees. You're able to upgrade your characters, which you were never able to do in a Lego game. You just unlocked them. Now you're able to make them even better, which adds more replayability. So it's taken the trope, or not the tropes, the
common elements
of video games, including like non-playable characters and stuff like that you interact with, and integrated them into a Lego game. So it fits better with the current climate of video games, I guess. So I like it.
I'm curious from you, Nate, because I know, this is like your first real experience. You're diving into it, apparently. What are some of the differences that you noticed?
Well, Sam kind of nailed all of them there, but
he was excited about it, obviously. So
he was. Sorry, I guess I can give a different opinion on this. I did play the Force Awakens Lego game, and it's very similar to this in the gameplay wise. This is a bit more polished with the lightsaber gameplay, but they did have the aiming down sights with the weapons in the Force Awakens game. And I always thought that was really interesting and really cool. And I'm glad they brought that back into this. I think the main difference that has stood out to me is the skill tree stuff for each of the classes of characters. And then you have the overall skill tree and all that stuff. And it's really interesting and adds a lot more depth to this game, which I'm super excited about.
That's cool.
To try more.
All right. Well, there are lots of Easter eggs in the Skywalker Saga Lego game. Some are pretty much what you'd expect from this type of a game, but one is dark. Honestly, it's really dark. Okay, so let's start with a couple of the more normal ones. The first one is the Outrider. It wouldn't be Lego Star Wars without some fun references to the Legends continuity, and this is a big one. One piece of Star Wars history is the wildly popular game Shadows of the Empire. One of the major characters in this game and all of the extra content that grew up around it is Dash Rendar. He was a compatriot of Han Solo and Chewie. He's hired in the game by Lando Calrissian to help track down a frozen and hibernating Han between Empire and Return of the Jedi. And Rendar was, basically, honestly, he's just a poor man's version of Han Solo, down to his classic Corellian YT-2400 light freighter, which looks amazingly similar to the Millennium Falcon.
Weird.
And the Outrider, his ship, can be seen parked on Hoth, which may tease a possible canonization in the future. What are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. Nate, you go first. I've talked a lot.
If we're talking about Lego and things being canon, you really cannot take their word for it. Because have you seen the Lego sets that come out for the movies? I mean, there are so many points when, say, take the Batman, for example. They had a Lego set where the Riddler was fighting Batman in the Batcave.
That didn't happen in the movie at all.
So you really can't take Lego's word for it when they're going to make something canon. So I don't think that this means anything, but it is cool how they're having this Easter egg in there. And who knows, maybe it could make it canon at some point.
Yeah, everything with Lego you have to take with a grain of salt. But I do think that them including this just shows that the people working on this game are fans first and foremost. And they left Easter eggs for the other fans, which I always appreciate when developers do that. Cause sometimes you can consider game developers just to be those guys there to make some money and they don't really care about it, but you can tell that they really do care about this game and about the story and the franchise that it takes place in.
Yeah, well, they're not just fans of Star Wars, that franchise. Apparently they're fans of the Lord of the Rings, because one of our favorite characters, right, in The Rise of Skywalker is actually Beaumont Kin, largely because of his pivotal role in the epic comic book arc found in Star Wars Adventures 27 through 9, featuring Turbis the Porg.
Yeah.
Beaumont is played by live action by Dominic Monaghan, who also played one of our favorite hobbits, Merry Brandybuck, in The Lord of the Rings. Of course, Merry and his friend Pippin were tragic victims of man's complete lack of understanding regarding second breakfasts and other such meals. But in the Skywalker saga, Merry can be heard complaining to General Leia about not approving his request for a second breakfast.
That is so funny. See, I again, we've only scratched the surface with this game, and I can't wait to go through and keep playing, and hearing all these little Easter eggs. But this just shows the people behind this game are fans and nerds just like the people playing it. Exactly. So I always appreciate when they can throw a little reference like that in. Yeah, that's so cool.
It's just a lot of fun. They knew that they had that ability to, and they're like, let's just throw it in there. Let's just do it. Because might as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a complete awareness of the types of fans that listen or that play these games. It doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or even some other franchises that make appearances.
Oh, really?
In this, they definitely know that they're all playing these games. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to the creepy one. In this, I don't know if you guys are ready for it, but the creepiest Legends character to appear in Lego Star Wars, the Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, that's what it's called, is Nobot. As the site Eurogamer.com explains, if you wander around Mos Espa's back alleys, you may encounter Nobot, an odd-looking C-3PO-like droid who shuffles off into a hovel. If you follow him, you do so at your own peril. Once inside the area labeled as Haunted Hovel, you're treated to a weird one-off moment with Nobot himself, and likely left wondering what the heck just happened. All right. So here's, and I won't tell you exactly what that is, but, who is Nobot? This haunted looking protocol droid is part of the franchise's official Disney is it not? Excuse me. I guess he is. He gained a few seconds of screen time, in the background in a scene in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. But the character that we know of as Nobot has a deeper backstory that's now non-canon. And this is where it gets really weird. Nobot is apparently the sole witness in Legends to the murder of a pregnant woman who later turned up playing audio recordings of the killing while covered in blood. Nobot did. Local speculation there on Tatooine, I guess, or wherever it was, suggested that Nobot was the murderer, leading them to make him an outcast. And ever since, Nobot has wandered around Mos Espa and become the target for locals to take pot shots at, only to find that their guns mysteriously jam.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
That's awesome.
That's cool. I can't wait to find that. I'm sure you can find that in the episode 1 Mos Espa level that we're right at. So
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I want to go look.
So you guys are right there. You haven't
We're
found it
right
yet?
there. Yeah, no, I want to.
So as soon as we finish recording, you guys are going to
pretty much. I think so.
Yeah.
I love a good kind of not necessarily like ghost story, but it's almost like a little ghost story.
Sounds
in
like
Star
Captain
Wars.
Scott's got some writing to do.
I know.
I love this. That's so cool. I didn't know that was like a.
He's all
thing
excited
in Star Wars.
now.
Yeah, that's
very
cool.
neat.
Well, it's clear that there are hundreds of hours worth of gameplay options in the Skywalker saga, and if you're a Star Wars fan and if you're listening to this, you are. Go pick it up or download it or whatever the kids are doing these days.
Hey, if you download it, you get a special old Obi-Wan Kenobi classic skin. Just saying.
Wow, that's kind of cool. Obi-Wan Kenobi skin comes with it?
Yeah, you get we were just talking about Nobot and murdering people. We figured you get a skin.
This just got weird. All I know is however you get these games these days, I miss blowing into cartridges.
Do you know that the packaging on those cartridges says actually to not blow into them?
It doesn't matter what they say because that's the way that it works. All right. Things aren't all that magical with the only new release this weekend. And there's only one way to describe the box office numbers from last weekend. Animation domination.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
New releases this week, or new release this week. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore.
My doppelganger.
It is.
Apparently.
Jude Law is your doppelganger, apparently. The description is about Professor Albus Dumbledore knows the powerful dark wizard Geller? I don't know. I was trying to go.
We don't watch Harry Potter.
Grindelwald is moving to seize control of the wizarding world. Unable to stop him alone, he entrusts Magizoologist Newt Scamander to lead an intrepid team of wizards, witches, and one brave muggle baker on a dangerous mission, where they encounter old and new beasts and clash with Grindelwald's growing legion of followers. But with the stakes so high, how long can Dumbledore remain on the sidelines? The director is David Yates. The cast is Eddie Redmayne, Jude Law, and
my doppelganger,
and Ezra Miller.
Who this may be the last film he ever did.
Yes.
Okay.
The studio is Warner Brothers, and it is rated PG-13 for some fantasy action violence.
No.
Yes or no? Yeah.
No. But although the reviews on this are they as bad?
They're very people say it's too dark and it just doesn't feel right for the universe and everything, and they say it just does not fit. So
Righty then. All right, let's talk some box office stuff.
Yes. Sonic the Hedgehog ran away this weekend.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 made 71 million domestic, 141 million worldwide.
What was the okay, so the take for Batman was 160 something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Morbius made still a strong 10 million for, was it the second or third weekend?
This is the second weekend.
This is second?
No, it was the second weekend.
Oh, yikes. 10 million domestic, 126 million worldwide.
Which is already getting beat by
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
And The Lost City, 9 million, which surprised it's still holding strong in its fourth weekend.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
It's because it's the only movie of its style in the entire theater.
That's true.
Right now. So
yes. Yeah. So
all right.
That's crazy.
Good job.
Good job.
Got through that one kind of quick. Let's see if we can keep going here.
Yeah, keep the streak going.
Yeah, well, Mark is married. Arthur Harrow was Moon Knight before. And Steven has really good fashion sense. We'll talk about all that
He
next.
does have good fashion sense.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us. Is as the footsteps of steps.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
Have you seen? Hold on, no, it does
Oscar
fit.
Isaac, yeah, I know. We know.
Listen, if you're listening to this right now, just pause this show right now and go find Oscar Isaac singing the Star Wars theme, because it's one of the most joyous moments in Star Wars history. But anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Marvel.
But he's Oscar Isaac.
Yes, that's true.
All right.
I want to get y'all's rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 magical scarab compass things.
That thing is cool.
It is cool.
Yes. I don't know. This was a really, really good episode, and I don't want to give it... I don't want to give it
thinking about it.
I know. I don't want to give it a 9 because I feel like that's too high for a second episode in the series. But I'm going to give it an 8.5 because honestly, I walked away from this episode just really? Absolutely astounded by how good this episode was and how good the series is potentially going to be. And I really do think that if they do this right, if they make the rest of the 4 episodes good, this could be the best MCU show yet. And
there's some that agree with you.
I know. I'm not there yet. Hawkeye's still
Scooter
taking that
does.
cake. Well, good for Scooter, but Hawkeye.
That's great. I don't care.
Hawkeye
He's Mr. Scooter to you.
Mr. Scooter. Yes. But Hawkeye's still always going to, I think Hawkeye will always have a special place for me.
That's
true.
So let's see, scale of 1 to 10, magic scarab compasses. I'll give it an 8.
All right.
It was better than the first episode.
Yep.
And there's room for improvement. I enjoyed it. There were just things about it that fell off. And part of the reason why is I've spent too much time researching Moon Knight comics, and it threw me off. I mean, there was a couple moments, or there were decisions that were made in this one that were also made in the first episode, in a different way that I'm trying not to talk too much about it because I know we'll talk about it, but they threw me off, and that's why I'll give it an 8.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5, just like Nate, because I think it was fantastic. It improved on the first episode, but again, I'm giving it room to continue to improve, moving forward. But, I want to, first, the main difference is Steven is fully aware now of Mark, and the whole.
I did think for a second that we were going to get a whole episode of them having a conversation.
Yeah, it looked like it, and I called the opening. I told y'all it was going to be him
as soon
jumping
as it
out of bed.
I thought about that.
But there were a lot of conversations between Steven and Mark in this episode, especially when he finds the containment storage locker or whatever, and it's been like a staging room. But I want to get y'all's thoughts on Mark and Steven's relationship, which is weird to think about that it's like two people having a relationship because it's kind of the same person. But what are y'all thoughts on that?
I really like it. I honestly, I think Steven is such a fun character. I really do. I think that his interactions with Mark is one of the best parts of this series so far. Mark's really just fed up with Steven at this point. He really doesn't like him. He thinks that he's just completely a waste of space, which is a good way of putting it. And Steven's just confused as to what is going on at this point. And I love the conversations that they had. I love how Steven's like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to show the cops all this money and all this fake stuff and what's going to happen. But then he just get locked up himself because it's him who has it. So it's great. I love it.
I have a completely different read on their relationship.
Really?
You have Mark frustrated and not liking Steven.
Mm-hmm.
I have Mark scared for Steven. I have Mark. I watched this episode thinking Mark genuinely is worried about Steven's safety and wants to just protect Steven. And get, yes, there's the mission that Mark has, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, that he has to accomplish and all of that for Arthur Harrow for Khonshu. And he's trying to do all of that but I see that the relationship between Mark and Steven is Mark wants Steven to not know about any of this so that he can go about his life when this mission is over, and wants to just protect Steven. And so that's the way I read it. How do you see it, Sam?
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of it like that. I was more along the lines of Nathan.
If you go to the end of the episode, you can get that he's getting frustrated with Steven.
But I think it's because Steven's interfering and making things more difficult.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and maybe that's the parent side of me, because you get that way with your kids, right? You love your kids, you want to protect your kids, you want them to do the right things, and you are doing it because you care about them, and that sometimes leads to the frustration that you have with them because they're just not listening, and that's the way I'm reading this relationship.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. One thing I did notice is that they seem to be kind of like polar opposites of each other. Steven hates the violence, the way he picks up that gun like it's a wet sock or something and sets it aside, while Mark is a special ops soldier. Steven calls his mom every day even though she doesn't pick up. Well, we learn that
because she's not real.
She didn't have there is no mom. Well, but we learned that Mark and her aren't talking from Layla later on. And then, Steven, when he's learning more about Layla, he says he would never divorce her, while Mark clearly is in the process of trying to divorce her. So there's a lot of these complete opposites among each other. Nate, do you think that there could be something more to this?
I don't know. I think that we're going to be finding out a lot more about this later in the series, because I feel like his personality was created to be the opposite of Mark. And we don't know kind of what the first personality really is, the main personality, but I could honestly assume that it was Mark who was the original a personality, I guess. I'm taking this all from Split, by the way. I don't know if this is actually how it works out, but I do think that we'll be seeing a lot more of Mark in his life and how he deals with things more than Steven, especially in this next episode, now that Mark's fully taken control at this point. So
I agree. I think that that it shifts away from Steven going forward in the series, and you'll get some Steven in the mirrors and stuff and such. But at this point, it's Mark as Moon Knight going forward.
Yeah. Now in this episode, Layla was fully introduced, and we learned that she and Mark were married. And then that they had many adventures and they've clearly been together for a while. But what do you think happened that caused Mark to cut everyone off and for Steven to eventually take control?
I mean, we got an answer to why Mark cut at least Layla off.
Okay.
Because Khonshu threatened that he was going to make Layla the next Moon Knight, the Avatar.
Wow. Okay.
Because if he doesn't after the mission's done, or if he doesn't complete the mission. So that's why he cut everybody off. And I think that's why he had Steven take control, so that he didn't contact Layla anymore.
Well, that's an interesting spin on that. I hadn't thought about letting Steven take control in order to protect Layla, on that. And, as we're thinking about it, if I go back, I also wonder if Mark is trying to have Steven take over because he wants to kind of retire to that life and that safer existence and such. And I think that there's this idea with dissociative identity disorder where you create these personalities to protect yourself, and you're going back to Split with that. And I wonder if if Steven isn't that with it. And so I'm thinking I'm all over the board with this, just like all these personalities. But anyway.
No, I see where you're coming from. Yeah. Maybe that's why he's the complete opposite of Steven. So he couldn't even get close, of Mark. So he couldn't even come close to that life. And then another really big revelation that we got in this episode was that we learned that Arthur Harrow was the Fist of Vengeance for Khonshu before Mark was. And, he doesn't have very many nice things to say about Khonshu. Dad, why do you think Khonshu let Arthur go, or how did that happen?
Well, I think that Khonshu realizes that Arthur Harrow is no longer was submitting to him. And I think that we're starting to see that with Mark too. Mark's trying to resist Khonshu. He's trying to do his own thing. He's fighting against him. And so once Khonshu, I don't know if this is the way it works in the comics, and I don't know if this is the way it works in Egyptian mythology, but in this story, it feels like once the host begins to consistently resist the god, then the god starts to reject the host. And that's why he would like to go and take over Layla. Why are you looking at that?
I mean, I was just thinking, you were saying I don't know if this works in mythology, and I was trying to think, are there anything relating to avatars in mythology? And I'm wondering if maybe you could consider the Pharaoh an avatar, and I don't know which. Well,
if you really want to go down this path with us,
do we have time?
Just go for it.
45 seconds,
right.
You get to the end of the first chapter of the Bible and you have this idea. And the idea is, let us make man in our image. And the idea of an imager, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, in ancient biblical story, is this idea, and in the ancient Near East, in the pagan Sumerian religions, Assyrian religions, and that type of thing, is that the god, the idol itself, was a vessel for housing the god or hosting the god. And so humanity was created not as a reflection of God, Moon Knight type thing here, but actually as the host, or as a way of imaging or showing the god to the world, and displaying the god to the world. And so this idea goes all the way back to Genesis 1. So anyway, it's an interesting idea.
See, that's the whole story written on our souls.
That's what you get from Tatooine Sons that you don't get from other stuff, I promise.
I want to build on that. The whole Arthur kind of pushing back. It could be true. Now, I'm going to go from what I know about DC and compare this to Spector a little bit, because there's a lot of similarities.
You've compared this before.
Marc Spector?
No,
just a different. Spector. Oh, the DC Spector. Okay.
But in that, we see that he starts to get the power pulled away. Spector gets the power pulled away whenever he starts doubting what's going on, what he's doing. And again, Spector's a spirit of vengeance. He's the fist of vengeance for God. And literally in the comics, that's who
in the
he
DC
is.
version.
In the DC version. So whenever he starts doubting, he starts to wonder if he's even supposed to do this and if it's a good thing. So if we see that, I think that's what happened with Arthur in some ways. I do think that we saw that happen into where he started doubting more and more if Khonshu's right, or if what even Khonshu is doing is the right way to do it.
Right.
Either because he's now the avatar of Amit, who judges somebody before they've done something wrong, because he probably thought that Khonshu was too late.
Right,
and so
he says that. Yeah.
So I think that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. So who's telling the truth here, though? Is it Arthur or Khonshu?
I don't trust Arthur worth a lick.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think Khonshu, and we did see Arthur just use his powers without judging in this episode.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think that we end up finding out that Khonshu has to be in the right in this, because I think Moon Knight will be this crazy, weird, almost anti-hero by the end of this thing. He's still a hero. And I think that's where they're going with it. So, I mean, even Mom, who doesn't know anything about this storyline at all, sitting on the couch watching this, was going, Arthur's not a good guy. She kept saying over and over. So,
I mean, what sane person puts glass in their shoes?
Right. And you're kind of talking about this, Nate, but Arthur, we learn he's trying to resurrect Amit, meaning he's the avatar for a dead god right now. So where's his power coming from? Is it false? Because like you said, we see him at the end just straight up kill a guy in the end without judging him, right? Because he explains that people die because Amit judges them and they've been, shown wrong or whatever, so they die. But he just straight up killed that guy. So what do you think?
I think it comes from the cane, because we did see he said that this has a fraction of Amit's power infused in it, and he always is using the cane whenever he wants
sort of it's a scale itself.
So he always is using that to judge somebody or to kill somebody, even that guy at the end. So I think that's where his power comes from, and that's what he's explaining for this.
So less from the god itself and more
from
the power in the cane. Interesting. And Dad, you were kind of talking about this, but at the end of the episode, Mark is left in control of the body. And then we learn that he's serving Khonshu because Khonshu saved his life, which is like what happened in the comics. But Khonshu is, like you said, Nate, also blackmailing Mark into continuing to serve him, because once he's done with Mark, he's going to choose Layla as the next avatar. Is Khonshu bad? Or do we maybe see Mark cutting off ties to Khonshu by the end of this series, but still somehow staying as Moon Knight, kind of like what Arthur is doing right now? And I'll explain in the comics, or at least in this one panel I saw when I was doing some research a while back. There's this panel where he crushes Khonshu's head, but I think it's more just like a symbolism of he's cutting off ties and he's done. So do you guys think that maybe we see that? And do you think Khonshu's in the wrong here?
I don't really think Khonshu's in the wrong. I think that he has a mission. Khonshu has a mission and a purpose, and he's going to fulfill that purpose in whatever end he needs to fulfill it to. And I think that's what we're supposed to learn in this. But I do not think at all we see Mark break ties with Khonshu, because then what's the point of introducing a new character into the MCU if you're just going to finish it off in the series? Because if he breaks ties with Khonshu, then you don't have Moon Knight anymore. If you don't have Moon Knight.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they kind of work out they come to some understanding. I think that they'll come to
an understanding. I just don't think that Mark will completely cut ties with Khonshu and put him off onto some other avatar.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I was explaining, though, maybe it still works like Arthur somehow, where he still has some of the powers of Moon Knight.
Well, it's from the cane, though.
Well, right. I'm not sure how they make it work, but you see where I'm going with.
I think that's what's supposed to be happening in the series. The conflict between Mark and Khonshu and Steven and Khonshu and Mark and all that stuff. It's supposed to happen in the series to give us more of a, I guess, character in the MCU.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next now that I know he's in Egypt now?
Well, I think that we end up seeing some flashbacks. I think we find out about Mark and Layla and how Mark gets the powers of Moon Knight and the whatever happens with Khonshu. I think we see that.
And I think you might get your wish, Dad. I think that'll all come from a point of view of Mark explaining to Steven his past life.
Yeah, I hope so
conversations.
Too. And
then seeing it as Steven seeing those memories coming back to him as he's explaining.
I know whatever, if that happens, Steven will just be beside himself.
That was good. All right. Well, Moon Knight finally has got some legs and the story is moving, and it's safe to say it's one of my favorite MCU shows so far. And I think we all can't wait to see what happens. So be sure to tune in tomorrow to see what's in store next.
Yeah. Very good. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Ms. Marvel's Disney Plus rating is an MCU first, actually. It's getting a PG rating for the first time.
So it's definitely going to be aimed more towards
a younger audience, which is cool.
I kind of said it when we broke down the trailer. I said this felt like it might be a better fit for Disney Channel, not
and
Disney
I think that's
Plus.
what it's going to be. So
I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'm going to give it a shot.
So.
Yeah, in total 180 from a PG movie. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon reportedly split into 2 epic movies with the possibility of more spin-off shows to come.
This is the story that he wrote wanting it to be a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. And I have seen the concept art, and this looks like it might be it's Zack Snyder's Dune is what I'm getting from
excited.
it. Dune,
I'm excited.
When is this coming out? Do we know?
Its filming is supposed to end. The first movie's filming is supposed to end in November, so probably early next year.
And I saw a post on this. What's exciting about this sci-fi story is it's completely fresh. Nobody can go into it with any expectations or previous opinions on it because it is completely original.
Zero headcanon.
Yep,
I know,
which
I'm
is
so
super
I'm
exciting.
so excited. It looks so good.
All right. Into the Spider-Verse director Peter Ramsey is working on at least one episode, maybe more, of Star Wars series Ahsoka.
Ahsoka just keeps getting better and better.
It's going to be your Rebels thing, I have a feeling. And,
for sure.
And Into the Spider-Verse, that's kind of got some World Between Worlds feel.
It's I don't know.
Star Trek crossover.
Star Trek, yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening to this Friday's episode with AC Bradley, where we talk about what if,
what happened to my boy?
Yeah, and we answered the question why they hated Tony Stark in that series so far. She can't talk about anything with season 2. She made me sign 14 non-disclosure agreement. No, I'm kidding. She doesn't have anything to do with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So we had some fun kind of speculating a little bit about that. So I can't wait for you to check that out. Thank you to our sponsors. We do appreciate you very much. The Heroes Journal. I'm very excited about that. And again, I know we said it, but I'll say it again. Thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, and hopefully you did, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and if you like the show so much you want to get more of it, the show's only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group. And then you can follow us on Twitter to get in on all of the action as well. And you can keep up to date with everything going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's correct. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss our next episode, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. It would mean the world to us. Thank you guys. Thank you again for listening. I know I said that. As weird as this episode was for us on the recording side, I'm glad we did this.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for enduring this mess. Anything else you guys would like to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.
Yep, yep.